Hello, everyone. It is Cree on AWE Radio with another episode of Her Woman Evolves. I am so delighted to have a special guest, very special guest with me, Karlowba Adams Powell from Minneapolis, Minnesota, also in the EW, Empowered Woman, private Facebook. Shout out to EW. Hello, Karlowba.
Hello.
Awesome. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So many of you may know, some may not, that this is an extremely special guest because it's also my niece. And I'm excited to have her because she has such an incredible story, and her journey has, just like many of us, many, many facets. And so we're going to just be real and authentic here and let this story take place however you, Karlowba, want to share with us. So
Okay.
I know that you have many gifts. I know that you're a great singer. I know that's part of your legacy. I know that you have practiced various types of law, personal injury, criminal defense, anything else?
Family law.
Family law. Yes, yes. And so I think that's a good place to start. So let's talk about your experience with the law. What made you want to go to law school in the first place?
You.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, I want to be a lawyer like her. So
Aw.
I think from when I was about 5 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I wanted to become a lawyer because you were a lawyer, as I've said, but also because I wanted to help people.
Hmm.
And so I initially went into law school thinking that I was going to go into entertainment and sports law
Ah.
because I wanted to fulfill my passion for sports because I was an elite athlete in high school and in college, and then also be able to service the family because our family is in entertainment.
Of course. Of course. Well, that's fascinating. That's fascinating because so many people that we talk to as part of this Her Woman Evolved series, particularly lawyers, including myself, we have a similar journey in the sense that what we aspired to do when we first got to law school evolved into something different as we grew into our practice.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I would ask you, what would you say to kids coming out of college? And I call them kids, so maybe we shouldn't. Young adults coming out of college and interested in going into the legal profession, and those who may have just a specific thing in mind that they may want to do. What kind of advice can you give our college graduates who are interested in pursuing law?
I would definitely tell them to always be flexible
Yes.
because, I mean, people have said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans for your life.
Exactly.
And so, even though it may not initially start out the way that you think it should be, it always ends up the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more ways to get to a destination than a straight path.
Absolutely.
And not everything is linear. That's really good advice. And so I would say, would your advice change for those who are already in law school, who are feeling like, now they're maybe not in the first year, they're in their second year, and they're getting exposed to other things, and now whatever that original idea is starting to change. Maybe, maybe not. Would your advice be the same or different, or what do you say?
Yes, my advice would definitely be the same. Always remain flexible and know that it's okay to pivot.
Yes.
And so you can pivot, you can take a bump, you can get down into a valley, you can go way up to a peak, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Ooh, gem. Write it down, folks. That's one gem. I'm sure we're going to have plenty more. And speaking of pivoting, I want to take a turn here and talk about your upbringing.
Okay.
Because I happen to know, I have it on very good authority that you were born in North Little Rock, Arkansas, where I was born as well.
Correct.
But you moved to Evanston, spent some time in Evanston as a little kid.
Yes.
But then spent quite a bit of your youth and young adulthood, I would say, in Frankfurt, Germany.
Yes.
How was that experience and what took you to Germany?
The experience was amazing. What took me to Germany was my mom. She was a civilian who worked for the Army. And so she was given the opportunity to go overseas, and her stations, I'm doing air quotes because civilians don't really get stationed like Army personnel, but still that's a term that they use. So her two choices were Italy or Germany. And so she asked Leah and I, Leah's my sister,
Yes.
where we wanted to go. And so, of course, we're in the United States, and, advertising and things like that. In our mind, Italy was the most extravagant and beautiful, place. So it's like, yeah, we want to go to Italy.
Right. Who doesn't?
And so then my mom comes back and is like, we're going to Germany. We're like, what?
What?
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
But, so she had to explain to us why we were going to Germany, and her explanation was, she knew more people there. And so it was fine, not our first choice. Again, not how we wanted the picture to look, right? So we went on to Germany and had an amazing time. We were able to be immersed in European culture because as a civilian, not in the Army, like I said before,
right.
We lived on what they call the economy, which is just like a German, typical German neighborhood with cobblestone roads and, the European, houses.
The
versus,
economy.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what they call it, the economy.
Okay.
Versus the soldiers or the people in the Army who were housed in on base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn German?
I did, and I was fluent for a very, very long time. And then, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Of course. When I was coming through in my younger days in high school, I studied Hebrew and then in college Greek and Latin, and now I can recognize it, but not necessarily read it because it just haven't stayed with it. So definitely you're 100% right. Another gem, actually, if you don't use it, you lose it. Write it down, folks. All right. So we celebrated National Vitiligo Day on June 25th. Mm-hmm. And you personally spearheaded your own campaign on social media, which was amazing. I enjoyed wearing my purple and posting and joining the movement and all of that. It was fantastic. Please share your journey, why this day, National Vitiligo Day, is so important to you and your personal journey.
So I was diagnosed with vitiligo when I was 10. And so I've been living with vitiligo for 36 years. And through the course of my vitiligo journey, I've evolved. And so about 5 years ago was when I learned about National Vitiligo Day. And so I began celebrating it then. But then just 2 years ago, I was like, hey, I want to kind of step this up and, step on a higher platform and let people know that we need to embrace our differences. Show them how people can come together to support each other on whatever their platforms may be. And so then I started my own campaign because I thought it was important to join the millions of people that have vitiligo around the world and show my pride and the confidence that I have as a person living differently.
Yeah. So was that a journey for you, getting confident in your skin, so to speak, with vitiligo?
It was somewhat of a journey, I will say that, because when I first got vitiligo, I didn't wear makeup. And then as the vitiligo spread, my mom got me makeup and I began wearing makeup. And so it was kind of just what I did, from 10 years old until I was 45.
You don't look a day over 20, by the way.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. So it was just kind of something that I did. But I wore makeup, but I still had all the confidence and personality in the world. So when the vitiligo started taking over my hands or my feet or the other, areas of my body, I didn't hide them. I exposed them. So my face was the only thing that was concealed. And then when I went to, actually became an attorney, was in court and things like that, the makeup served me well because I knew that I wanted to be able to do my job without distraction. And until you've had vitiligo, you have no idea what, and I'm doing air quotes, distraction it is. Or you know what? I won't even say distraction. I will say a conversation piece because that's what it is.
Okay.
I can't represent a client adequately in court if I'm, having a conversation with the bailiff or the court reporter about how gorgeous I am, or, explaining what vitiligo is, or arguing about whether or not I have on lip gloss or not, and it's my lips, things like that. So it served me well because I didn't have to talk about vitiligo while I was doing my job. And then when I turned 45, really, honestly, at the urging of my son, I decided that I was going to do a vitiligo photo shoot. And what inspired...
And I saw that, by the way. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. And what inspired that was, we had survived the lockdown, during the pandemic, and still in the pandemic, but I spent a lot of time, looking at those numbers, the death toll numbers rising, and seeing people, checking out of here, and seeing people suffering from, being closed in, not being able to socialize, not being able to work, seeing people struggling, I will just say that, socially. And so I just wanted to say, hey, here I am, my authentic self, and I wanted to encourage, inspire, and motivate others to embrace their differences.
Oh, yeah. And
to know that different is a superpower.
Ooh.
And that...
Another nugget, another gem. Different is a superpower. I love that.
And that instead of trying to force yourself to fit in, why not stand where you were meant to stand out?
I love that. I absolutely love that. In your experiences with vitiligo, particularly from your youth and then coming into adulthood, have you had a lot of instances where you've had to educate people?
Absolutely. People will stare, people will ask questions, people will say, oh, are you burned? The educational opportunities are endless. And I actually appreciate them, to be honest. I would prefer that you ask or something like that, versus staring, because we're all taught from the time we're 2 years old that it's rude to stare.
That's correct.
And so little children are the best because they're just as pure and as innocent as they can be. And so they will ask. And I take the time to educate. Adults sometimes are not the same. We'll just say that. And so,
they're still evolving.
Yes. And so, I may say, hey, do you want to know what's on my hands? Or, sometimes it might even be like, can I help you? Sometimes it may be that. But I will educate because I think education is key to understanding.
I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. And what I'm getting out of that is, at least from your personal perspective, you're saying it's okay to ask questions, because I know some people will feel, well, I don't want to be rude, or I don't want to be invasive or intrusive, that kind of thing. And so it's really good to hear, from your own perspective, saying, look, it's okay to ask me, because not everyone is aware. And speaking of which, I would say, what would you say, other than that, what we just said, what would you say to those who are unaware of vitiligo and they're running into people and they're curious about people with vitiligo? Any message for them?
I'm glad you asked me that because I would definitely say for me, please ask me. I would prefer that you ask me, but I have been around people who are extremely self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Vitiligo is called a social disorder because it can make you or break you as far as your self-esteem and things like that. It's called a social somewhat disorder. So what I would say is to people that are encountering others with vitiligo, I would just say kind of feel out the situation, and check with the person to see how comfortable they appear to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then just, proceed from there.
That makes sense because we are even unique within our differences, right? Not every person is just because they share the same experience, it doesn't mean that they have the same perspective about how they want to interact with people. Correct. About that experience. Correct. So that makes sense. And as I would say, know your audience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Know your audience. Exactly. And then just to kind of flip it on its tail, what would you say about people who are just discovering that they have vitiligo?
And I've actually had some people that have actually reached out to me like, hey, I just started seeing, light spots. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, you've been such an inspiration to me because you are so confident, and you're just so bold, with it. My advice to them has been, take it one day at a time. Like my granny told me when I first found out I had vitiligo, God is not going to give you more than you can bear. And so you just take it one day at a time and you show up every day and, put your shoulders back and rear your head back, excuse me, and know that you are somebody.
That's right.
And just embrace your differences. I have always done that. And it's never what our circumstances are. It's always our perspective about our circumstances.
How many gems can you throw down in one time? That's good. I like that. It's our perspective. So that means that we can control how we're going to react to things. And that's any circumstance.
Correct.
That's good.
Correct.
That's very good. Well, you got to say something else on that?
Oh, so I was just going to, so if we have a positive outlook on our situation, then we can live positively.
Beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love that. Thank you for being an inspiration to so many people and for standing in your power and living in your purpose.
I wanted to just add another thing. I mean, we've talked a lot about vitiligo, but when I did my unveiling of myself when I was 45 and did that vitiligo photo shoot, I wanted people to embrace their differences, whatever they may be, not only for people with vitiligo, but for people that may have problems with their weight, and are unconscious about it. People that only, don't like their hair, don't like their eyes, don't like their nose, don't like, whatever your difference may be. Embrace it, love it, be it.
Yes, I absolutely love that.
It's okay, but live freely and authentically. Yeah.
Yes, and it's so great because this is a culture now where we are talking a lot about diversity and inclusion, and it really takes all kinds of folks and all kinds of experiences to make this world go round. And it is so true. There are so many people suffering in silence because of a uniqueness that they have, and I love what you're doing because you're demonstrating to people that it's okay with even initially being uncomfortable until you can evolve into a space where you can own your own difference. Because I like what you said earlier about it being your superpower. I love that.
My uniqueness is my superpower. You will see that on my Facebook page, on my social media, because my uniqueness is my superpower.
And where can we reach you on your Facebook page, by the way?
Oh, okay. Vitiligo_confidence with a K.
Okay. I love that. Thank you again for sharing your journey about vitiligo. But we know that your journey is broad. It is not just vitiligo. That is a part of you, kind of thing. And so I love that. I
have two parts because I got the best of both worlds.
And you wear it very well. I want to talk a little bit about another baby other than you. Like, I consider you to be my baby, although you're full grown. But I want to talk about my other baby, which is A Woman Evolves.
Yes.
And as you know, we just had our Women's Empowerment Extravaganza. Where we showed, premiered, I should say, the release of A Woman Evolves, the biopic.
Yes.
And we're going to come back, folks, and talk more about that later, about the making of. But it's a story really of my personal journey, struggling whether to embrace music or law, because I was dual careered, and then realizing that it's all a part of me. And then once I did that, realizing that I can really even go beyond that. So it's a whole deal. I don't want to get too deep into the substance of that, because we're going to come back another day, and I know you'll join me,
of course,
to talk about the making of that film. But I just want to hear you talk a little bit about the weekend experience, because you were fundamental to this going off so well. I mean, it was amazing. And we could not have done this without you. So thank you. She is my logistics person, my project manager, just my right hand, just everything. But I want to hear this from your perspective, because I know that you have to be tired with all the work that you put into
I am exhausted. I'm telling you, my pinky toe is tired. Okay.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about this weekend. Epic. Epic. And I've been here from ground zero.
Yes.
And I mean, from the moment you hit that parking circle at the Mint, it was nothing but flawless.
Oh.
Starting with the paparazzi red carpet, and the host interviewing.
Shout out to Carolyn Lloyd,
yes,
who is the hostess with the mostest, as we call her.
Yes, Miss Lloyd interviewing the guests coming up. I mean, I thought I was at the Oscars. I mean, we had the life-size photo,
Positive saying.
From
the biopic, right?
From the biopic,
yes.
Telling the story.
Yes, of empowerment.
Yes,
ma'am.
Setting the stage for the film.
Yes.
And then the step and repeat. Then we had the Butler Pass hors d'oeuvres.
The 360.
I'm getting to that. We had the Butler Pass hors d'oeuvres. And wait a minute, when she hit the atrium, they started playing
Sassy.
And she got sassy, y'all. And the guests loved it. Open, receptive, interactive, having a good time, encouraging, celebrating your creative talents, your vision, and your courage to step outside the box.
Thank you so much for that. That just means so much to me, and it meant even more to me to have you beside me, really just holding me down, holding this whole weekend down. And I really appreciate you saying, all of those wonderful accolades, but even above and beyond that too, just bringing women together to focus on themselves, to join in and invest. Like I always say, sisters investing in sisters, sis. Because so many times we put ourselves last. We're taking care of spouses, significant others, bosses, teams, siblings, sometimes all kinds of relationships. And then when we're just about beat to a pulp in terms of exhaustion, then there's a little bit of time for us. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted to give everyone permission to step into their own power and to be pampered and to network and invest in each other and love each other and put ourselves first. Because as my mom says, you are the most important person that you'll meet, because it all starts with you, right? Correct. And so we're all spiritual people, all the AWE team. So we know that God is the source. Mm-hmm. He gives us a great tool inside that will help us to become all that we are supposed to be if we just pull through it and leverage those gifts that we have within. So it was really about that. And then shout out to St. John, right?
I was going to say, wait a minute. I got ahead of myself
St. John Boutique.
Skipped the whole first day because this was a 2-day event, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So it started at the St. John Boutique. just exquisite, just exquisite.
Yeah.
I mean, the love, the support, the sharing in that room, in that boutique, excuse me, was just amazing. But it was just so comfortable. I felt like I was at home. That's
Wasn't
why
it great? It was so good. It was so good.
I mean, we were, networking. We were sharing our story. I mean, sharing our stories, encouraging one another. Then watching fashion. And anytime you can get a little retail therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Always a plus.
Always a plus. Yes, ma'am. And I love the fact that we had representation from so many cities across the United States. I mean, of course, the event was located in Charlotte.
Yes.
Here in the Queen City. But we had people from everywhere.
Florida.
Yes.
We had people from
Texas.
Illinois, Texas, Minnesota.
Yes, absolutely. And a few other places. I was looking for my list of places, but it escapes me right now. But it's just so interesting to see people come from far and near. Not even people just in Charlotte, and not even just people from out of state, but people in other cities in North Carolina.
Correct.
Just coming to celebrate us. And shout out to Sweet Pea Radio. They came down with their team and interviewed some folks, and we really had a great time. And so I want to take a second to just shout out my Women's Empowerment Extravaganza VIPs. You guys were amazing.
Yes.
But really, this was about you. I just had to digress a little bit and just share a little bit, because we are going to come back really and talk about that biopic and even more about the event. You'll be seeing some photos. You'll be seeing some footage. And so we're looking forward to that. So we don't want to give too much away, but it's just hard to not say a little bit about it, because we had such a great weekend, and it just happened. And some people are still here. People are leaving, going back to their respective locations. But your role in that, I just want to share, not just for, just because of the curiosity about doing it, but for people who want to do something like this. And I don't even want to call it event planning, because it's just something broader than that. I mean, logistics coordination, project program management, the whole bit. Talk about your role in helping to bring this vision to life.
So I was involved in everything, at every juncture. So I was in Minnesota.
That's right. Well, I was in Charlotte.
Yes. And so we were working this
with a full-time job,
virtually, remotely, with the full-time, you know what I mean?
Yes,
so, my role, I wear many hats. And so there's a lot of moving parts across states, as we've already said. And so, we've got to get the tickets together. We've got to get all the vendors together. We have to secure the venue. We have to work with the contacts at the venue. We have to work with the individual vendors, get them set up, get setup time, delivery times, run of the show. Very granular, as you like it.
I do.
By the minute.
By the minute.
Provide that to all the parties involved so that everyone's on the same page. I have to man the master tracking sheet for everybody.
Yeah.
I have to coordinate merchandise. I have to coordinate gifts. I have to coordinate
everything.
Deliveries. I have to coordinate schedules.
Emergencies.
I have to coordinate emergencies. I have to coordinate the unpredictable things.
Yeah.
I have to coordinate everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is, you've done other events like this biopic really emanated from the stage production, the one-woman show that really we moved into doing the biopic because of COVID. We weren't going to be stopped, of course. We don't do boxes, right?
That's right.
And so how has this been different, if at all, from kind of coordinating the stage production and doing this really we extravaganza, because I know the production was just the production. We always have VIPs, to support them and all of that, but this was really a women's empowerment weekend, and the biopic was just a part of that. I won't say just, but it was a great part of it. But there were other things going on as well.
So as far as so the difference in the event, so the stage play or whatever versus the biopic, and coordinating both of those events are very different. To answer your question, so with the stage production, we had a band, with a live band, I had to coordinate the background singers, their schedules, coordinate, the production crew, the lighting, all that. We had a run of show, but we had a stage manager.
Yes, we did.
At that point,
yes,
right?
We did. Mm-hmm.
So, and then merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to do for that. For the women's empowerment extravaganza.
Yes.
Just add on 360 photo, add on paparazzi red carpet, add on videographer, add on photographer, add on
emergencies,
add on unpredicted stuff, add on caterer, add on film crew, add on, just keep adding.
Just keep adding.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get us. DJ, band. What did you say, band?
Live.
There was
band.
A band live. Ooh! Shout out to Reggie Graves and Jazz Theory. Oh my goodness, they rocked the house.
The people would not sit down,
they were on
including me. Yes, the people was me. Yes.
But you know what? You were out there live, but I would say even the staff. They were out there doing their thing, and they were dancing and serving and all of that. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. So, but thank you so much for all that you did to help us bring that into fruition. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, what do you think is next for Karlowba Powell?
I don't know. I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, you're open.
I am a newly empty nester.
Oh, shout out to HBCU. I gotta say, I know. I cannot leave here without you talking about that. What has that experience been like? And you and your son, my nephew, my great nephew, shout out to Con Powell II. Just joined at the hip from birth, and now he's going off to North Carolina A&T, and I'm happy that he's going to be close to me here in Charlotte. He'll be in Greensboro. Yes, exactly.
It's not like I'm really leaving him. It's like I'm just dropping him off to y'all.
Yeah. But how do you feel about him going to that HBCU?
I am just, if you can't hear me smiling through this
I bet they can.
Then I just don't know what to tell you. But I am just uber excited about his decision to take his talents to an HBCU. I am just so excited about it. Minnesota, it's going to be different. He was born and raised in Minnesota, which is a diverse population. So going from, and he's always been in, a gifted and talented program, and then, a private college prep high school. So going from, a diverse environment to an HBCU for me is so empowering. It's so amazing, and I am glad that he embraces his heritage and he embraces his culture, and that he wants to live it, be it, and learn it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And he's just got the whole world is just right ahead of him. And it was great for me because I'm also a product of HBCU, and I tease him a lot because I'm from Howard University. And, he's always talking about Aggie pride, so I have been teasing him about that. But one of the things that I enjoy, even traveling up with you to take him to school and seeing all the pride around the school and just the monuments of historical figures that are up, and I just love it that it's really in your face to know who these people, whose shoulders you are standing on, in addition to your ancestors, all of these people who have fought and struggled and done so much to get us where we are today, and to pave the way for them to go to school and to further their education and their professional trajectory. It is definitely empowering.
It is definitely empowering. And every time I go to the university and go to the memorial that they have there and learn about the four, who coordinated, some of the lunch counter sit-ins and everything. I mean, for him to be in an environment that means something, that stood for something, and was a part of the civil rights movement is just amazing to me.
That's great. I'm so proud of him. And then you have another who is going to Hampton in a couple days.
Correct.
In a few days.
Correct.
Right? So I love it. The HBCU. Shout out to Dejan Simmons.
Yes. And I'm telling you, the HBCU experience is like none other.
Yes.
I did not have it myself, unfortunately.
But you're experiencing it now, as a parent.
It now as a parent.
I love it.
And it's amazing for me even as a parent.
That's great. Well, we certainly wish the young men, they're so, and I got to give them another shout out too, because they were also at the extravaganza, and they were just such gentlemen, making the ladies feel special and honored and escorting them to their cars. And then it began to rain and making sure that they were, it was just the most beautiful thing.
Well,
and they looked good.
Oh,
they
thank you.
looked good.
Thank you. I, pride myself in the fact that they have good home training, we would say.
Yes.
They've learned to be gentlemen, and
and credit to you for all that you have
great.
Done to give them such a wonderful foundation. Credit to you.
It
takes a village, and the extended families, and shout out to all the parents and extended family members of these youngsters who are going out and making their path and just needing us to always be there as a community, a village, to support them.
Yes.
So why do you think, or do you think it's important for us as women to share our stories?
I think it is extremely important for women to share your stories, because a lot of times when you're dealing, you think you're the only one dealing with whatever it is. And so by sharing your story, you're able to come to know that it's not only you that is dealing with this thing. Everybody's dealing with something.
Yes. I remember the Stronger Than campaign. We talk about that a lot on the radio, the AWE radio station. And I remember you even did your interview on Stronger Than. I'm strong. What was your word?
Their tricks.
Yeah. So, but that whole thing was about sharing our stories, across cities, across states, and really, I would say across the world. That's why I like this series, because we have people like you coming and sharing your experience, and then someone else hears that and goes, I can relate to that, kind of thing. Yes. So I think that's really, really great. And so this is, again, as I said at the top of the hour, this is the Her Woman Evolve series, and the newly named Brownie Cornell Lewis Her Woman Evolves series, after my dear friend, Attorney Brownie Lewis, who recently passed away. But what is your Woman Evolves?
A woman who is constantly learning, living, and pressing on despite her circumstances.
I love that. Learning, living, and pressing on despite her circumstances. Very, very well said. Karlowba, it has been a pleasure having you on here. It's just my heart is running over. It really is. And I'm going to let you give us any final word, if you have one, to add to all of these wonderful gems that you've given. Anything, one last word that you have to give, any thought for our AWE radio listeners?
Whatever your heart so desires, you deserve, and it is within your reach.
I love it. Words to live by. Well, we certainly do thank you for joining us today for this beautiful, beautiful conversation. I don't even like to think of it as an interview, it's really a conversation. And I wish you all the best in
Thank
your
you.
endeavors.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you all for listening. Again, this is Karee on AWE Radio. We are unapologetically empowered, and we're always on with inspiration and information for your transformation. Until next time.